welcome back to the Dyslexia channel. My name is Bill Madigan, your host. Many parents and teachers can see the effects of dyslexia, such as an inability to learn how to read or spell. But it's not so easy for these people to see and understand the causes of dyslexia. Knowing the causes of dyslexia is key to the remediation of the effects. And because this is so important, we're going to spend the next two videos discussing and giving you valuable information on the causes of dyslexia. So let's get started. Weighing about 3 pounds, the human brain consists of billions of nerve cells called neurons. These neurons are connected by trillions of connections called synapses. The brain is truly a wonder of nature and is responsible for how we function in this world. The brain uses the senses to gather information for use immediately or for use later on, depending on the need for that information. When there is a breakdown in the gathering, sequencing, and storing of information, the individual is not able to use that data properly. You may remember that science tells us that dyslexics are using different areas of their brains to read with than non-dyslexics. Problems arise because the parts of the brain that the dyslexics are using are weak in areas that are necessary for reading to be efficient. This is just something that dyslexics are born with. However, they do not have to live with these weaknesses. The brain can be trained and strengthened so that dyslexics can be fluent readers. What complicates the situation for parents and schools is that each dyslexic has their own set of unique weaknesses that make them unique. If all dyslexics were identical, there would just be one method to train their skills, and we wouldn't be talking about this at all. The ability of dyslexics to read suffers because of weaknesses that fall into two categories: cognitive weaknesses and phonological weaknesses. For clarity, in this segment, we will be looking only at possible cognitive causes. We will discuss phonological weaknesses in our next video. When cognitive skills are working properly, an individual can use their senses to accurately capture information for use later in either reading or writing. Some areas where the cognitive skills of dyslexics can break down are as follows. A dyslexic may have weakness in their visual perception. Visual perception is the ability to perceive visual information accurately. A deficit in this area affects the ability to accurately process information that is presented through the visual modality. It is important to understand that we are not talking about vision, but rather how the brain is interpreting what the eyes are seeing. It is hard to imagine, but a dyslexic and non-dyslexic with good vision could look at the same letter, word, or object and see two entirely different things. A deficit in this area can cause the reversals and rotations of letters and numbers and other effects commonly associated with dyslexia. A dyslexic might also have a weakness in visual motor integration. Visual motor integration is the ability to reproduce visual information by means of finger-hand movements. Basically, it's copying. It affects the ability to write, to copy work from a textbook or the whiteboard, to line up math problems, and to perform other writing tasks. A weakness in this area keeps the dyslexic from getting what is in their mind back out into the world so that people can see what they are thinking. This can be very frustrating for everyone. It's interesting that a dyslexic may have difficulty writing a word on a piece of paper, but yet that same dyslexic can draw an object or individual in great detail. I once worked with a young lady that had difficulty writing basic words, but could draw beautiful pictures of animals. The reason this is possible is that there is a dramatic difference between reproducing what someone else has created and creating something yourself. In one instance, there are boundaries. In the other, there are none. It was possible for me to give the young girl the skills she needed for visual motor integration, and eventually she wrote words without even thinking about it. But it would be impossible for her to give me her talent to draw animals. Sometimes dyslexics are at an advantage. Another possible area of weakness for dyslexics is tracking. It's no secret that in the English language we read from left to right. Try reading from right to left and see how problematic that is. However, what most people don't understand is that it is natural for human beings to gather information with their eyes by looking in all directions. This ability helped us survive in the past when we were being hunted and hunting, and it helps us today. We do not drive our cars by constantly looking from left to right, but instead by gathering information from all directions. It should be noted that even though you use your eyes to read, it is an auditory skill. When you think about it, there is a voice in your head even when you are reading silently. In our earlier videos, we talked a little about memory. Now we are going to go into detail. In assessing memory, we need to answer these questions. Can someone use their visual and auditory senses to capture information? And if not, where is the weakness? Can that person keep visual and auditory information in the correct order? And if not, where is that weakness? Can someone relay the information that they remember verbally and in writing? And if not, where is that weakness? And can that person move that information into short and long-term memory? And can they keep it in the correct order when doing so? And if not, where does that process break down? Let's begin with immediate memory. Immediate memory is the ability to take in information. It is the gatekeeper for all memories. The brain uses immediate memories right away and forgets those memories when used. Sometimes the order of this information in immediate memory is not important, and sometimes it is. For example, if a mother asks her two children what kind of cereal they want for breakfast, their response doesn't have to be remembered in order, nor is it going to be needed later. However, if that same mother is given a phone number to dial, the sequence of those numbers is important. Immediate memories can be formed using any sense or combination of senses. The brain can make gathering immediate memories look simple, but it is very complex, and when the brain is not operating efficiently, immediate memories can get off track. For example, a person may be able to hear information and repeat that information back in the correct order right away. But if that same person were to hear information, they may not be able to write that information in its correct order. Immediate memories fall into four general categories: information we hear and say back, information we see and say back, information we hear and write, and information we see and write. You can imagine how a weakness in any of these areas, or a combination of areas, could impact reading and comprehension. Deficits in immediate memories make it difficult for the dyslexic to even acquire simple basic information, such as a spelling word. It's hard for some people to imagine, but dyslexics sometimes can remember things they hear, but not things they see. And they may be able to write what they remember, but not be able to say it, and vice versa. The number of combinations of possible weaknesses can be extensive. In addition to immediate memory, a fluent reader must also have the ability to move immediate memories into short-term and long-term memory, and to keep those memories in their correct sequential order so that the memories can be used later on. With this in mind, we can break down overall memory as it is used in reading into two areas: overall auditory memory, which consists of random and sequential information that we hear that is acquired accurately as an immediate memory and transferred precisely to short-term and long-term memory, and overall visual memory, which consists of random and sequential information that we see that is acquired accurately as an immediate memory and transferred precisely to short-term and long-term memory. Weaknesses in any of these areas can be devastating to the ability to read fluently. Sometimes information may be in immediate and long-term memory in the correct order and may be lost in short-term, and vice versa. A dyslexic may have to go back and try to reread things like directions, which can be mixed up or forgotten entirely. Many times, children who struggle in this area appear to have other problems. For example, a child may appear to have a math problem when in reality their problem is that they cannot retain and use the information that is given in the math problem. Once they grasp and retain the question, the math is no longer difficult. All the cognitive causes we have outlined here can be strengthened through training. As I've said before, this is not a function of teaching, but rather a physical training exercise. Because of the neuroplasticity of the brain, especially in children, human beings can improve their cognitive skills through consistent, targeted practice. The biggest roadblock in achieving this is keeping the child, their family, and their school focused on the task over a long period of time. For example, once a child starts to experience some gains in cognitive skills, the temptation arises to think everything is fine, when in fact, that may not be the case, and further training may be needed to make the cognitive skill automatic, so the child can read fluently without having to think about it and be able to do so for life. Here's a quick tip. If a child is struggling learning to read, it is a good precaution to have their vision and hearing evaluated by professionals before you begin to look at cognitive and phonological skills. Think about it. Processing visual or auditory information is difficult to impossible if you cannot see or hear it accurately. With that being said, and assuming that a child's vision and hearing are in the normal range and they continue to struggle, then exploring the possibility that dyslexia is the cause of the problem makes good sense. I hope you found this video informative and that you now know a little bit more about the cognitive causes of dyslexia. Please keep an eye out for our next video in which we're going to share some very valuable information with you about the phonological causes of dyslexia and how training can reverse them. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon.